Good morning, welcome to Law Power Hour. Today we're privileged to have attorney Regina Jones with us. Regina, how you doing?
I'm a little nervous.
I know you are.
But I'm doing fine other than that.
Regina thought we were going to be on the radio, but we wanted to bring her on. She's so pretty to bring her on live. It's exciting.
Yes, it is. It's very exciting.
I know. When I said you're pretty, I meant that in a polite way.
Thank you.
Her son Burrell's in the audience with us today. Hi, Burrell. How you doing? Okay, he's going to be going off to high school. He told me about that while you were out of the room. Regina, you practice in two areas that are diametrically opposed. You do criminal law and you also do probate.
Correct.
And I say they're diametrically opposed. That means that they're one end of the legal spectrum and the other end of the legal spectrum.
Well, somewhat. I mean, with criminal law, if a person dies, then their family would end up having to open probate. So it kind of can be somewhat sometimes connected, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, there is a disconnect at that point, and it becomes an unfortunate set of circumstances.
Absolutely.
But what I wanted to talk with you about today is something that's really, really important and something that I know you understand. It has to do with probate documents.
Okay.
And in the probate documents, we're not going to have a test today, but we're going to talk about this.
Okay.
Would you agree with me that most people, and I'm talking about 95% of the population, does not have their affairs in order?
I would absolutely agree with that statement. It's unfortunate people, we don't like to contemplate our own death, or so a lot of times we don't prepare and make preparations for what will happen to all of our assets once we have passed away. And that includes not having a will. It includes not having trust or other documents in place that would assure that people that you want to have certain items of yours will be entitled to having those items. So a lot of people are not prepared. A lot of families, unfortunately, end up fighting over their loved ones' assets, their property, their things, because the proper documents that would have perhaps protected them wasn't put in place.
Now, I'm a litigator. 90% of my work is either personal injury or criminal law, and 10% of it's probate litigation, believe it or not. This week, I just was retained by one of 12 heirs
Okay. Oh, wow.
because there was a dispute in which one of the sisters, who was a lawyer, got her mother to amend the trust and include the grandchildren, the 30 grandchildren. And the father, when he died, had a will and trust, and there was a merger clause in his agreement, which merged, brought all the agreements together, as long as they were consistent.
Mhm.
Now there's going to be a battle as to whether the documents are all the same or an agreement. But I want to talk about the most important documents before people die. I want to talk about real documents that we need, you need, I need, everybody needs, who's an adult who has children, who has responsibilities, who's a senior citizen, is responsible for another person. I'm talking about a power of attorney, a medical power of attorney. Who's going to be in charge to look after me if I get sick and I can't pay my car payment, but I've got money in the bank? How am I going to get to it? Who's going to be in charge to make a medical decision as to whether I get to come home or I'm going to end up in a nursing home where they're using conditioner to wash my hair instead of using shampoo, and I come out with silky white hair? You know what I'm talking about?
I do.
I'm real serious about this, and I get real offended. And I'm going to share with you a little story about this, and you're going to fill in all the blanks.
Okay.
Okay, we're not going to play school,
Okay.
okay, but we work together on this. Okay? So this past week, our firm is privileged. We have a couple clinics that we put on for people who can't afford lawyers. And one of the individuals who came into the clinic came in with his two sisters. And he had a medical problem, which I won't announce on the air because I don't want to identify the individual.
Okay.
But he had 8 brothers and sisters, and 2 of them came in. So he has to go back on a machine regularly because he has a medical issue. And they were concerned about who was going to take charge of his affairs if he got sick. So he needed a power of attorney.
Correct.
And then he needed a medical power of attorney so somebody could make a decision as to whether he was entitled to life support. And then he needed a living will. And all of these documents put together are essential documents that every living being in the state of Michigan over the age of 21 should have in place. Would you agree with me?
I absolutely agree with you with regards to that. A lot of times people, with regards to, you have a power of attorney, what we call a durable power of attorney, that allows a person to take care of the financial aspect of a person's life, make the decisions with regards to their care, what happens to their home. Say, for instance, if this person had to go into a nursing home or something, but they had a house, the power of attorney will be the person that will be taking care of making sure the bills for the house are paid. They will be making sure that whatever needed to be done that person would ordinarily do for themselves will be done while that person does not have the ability to do it themselves. The healthcare power of attorney, absolutely. You want to make sure if you want to have a do not resuscitate order in place, that's what that healthcare power of attorney will allow you to have. It makes sure that everyone is obeying your wishes, because sometimes we care so much for our loved ones, and if a person gets to the point where they're on life support, that person may not want to be on life support, but without that healthcare power of attorney in place saying that, their next of kin, may either their wife, their child, their parent, whoever, can say, you know what, I want them on life support, even though that might not have been that person's wishes. So those documents are very, very important. I would agree with you that all adults should have those documents in place. And it's more so not, it's because it's like insurance. We get insurance in the just in case. You have car insurance just in case you get in an accident. You have, health care insurance just in case you get ill. People should look at probate, look at those documents, the paperwork, the power of attorney, healthcare power of attorney, as kind of like insurance policies to make sure that their wishes are met and satisfied, and that they are being taken care of should they become incapacitated and not able to take care of themselves.
Okay, we're going to take a break for a minute, and then I'm going to come back and talk about the durable power of attorney and how it works, how inexpensive it is,
Absolutely.
and why it's necessary to have the document. We'll be right back.
Are you in legal trouble? Are you in need of legal advice? Or just have general legal questions? Call 1-800-529-8721. That's 1-800-LAW-USA1. And watch Law Power Hour and get your questions answered by experienced attorneys who are experts in their field. That's Law Power Hour, hosted by Barry Keller, attorney at law. Saturdays at 10 a.m. here on WHPR Detroit Live.
Listen to this. Regina's got a package of probate benefits for $450. How can they get a hold of you to hear about those benefits?
You can contact me at 269-275-2600. That is my business cell phone number. I can always also be reached via email at attye@reginajones@gmail.com. Those are the ways that I can be contacted should anyone want to retain my services. And the bundle comes, in that packet, it comes with a durable power of attorney, which a healthcare power of attorney, and for a slightly higher fee, I'm willing to also do a will if a person is interested in having a will done as well.
Okay, so I'm going to retain you
Okay,
because my lawyer died.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Well, when he died, that means I need a new lawyer to go over my documents to make sure they're in order, don't I?
Absolutely. And people need to understand too, when you create a will is like a living document because things happen in your life. Say, for instance, when you were 30, you had a will made, and then since then you got married, and then you had children. Well, then you have to have someone go in and do a codicil to your will, make changes to your will so that your loved ones are included in your will. A lot of people don't, they'll make a will and the will sits in a safe deposit box or where they keep all their important papers and nothing is done. Life changes happen, people are born, people die, but yet no one makes changes to the will. So every so often, I would say every 5 years or so, if there's been an important life change in your life, you need to revisit that will, have an attorney do a codicil to the will or update the will.
A codicil means an amendment to the will for our listeners.
Correct.
Now, those of you who are listening, if you don't call in with these questions and you don't contact Regina, shame on you, because it's really important. I'm not kidding you, to have these things in order. There isn't a day that goes by that I don't have a call in my office where somebody wants to know if a power of attorney is still good after a person dies. And what did you say?
No, a power of attorney is not. Once the power of attorney dies with that person, once a person passes away, the power of attorney is also done. That's why it's important to have all the paperwork. Like I said, you have your power of attorney is for when a person is alive, but they are not able to take care of themselves. Once they pass away, that's when the will kicks in and takes place, because now you have a deceased person, and then all of their property and belongings become a part of their estate.
I had a client who became very ill and had to go in the hospital for bypass surgery. So his daughter was home, and he thought she was going to take the checks, put them in the bank, and pay the bills. He got out of the hospital 4 months later. He was behind in his mortgage 4 months because she was spending the money out there ripping and running and having a good time. Now, if he had a power of attorney in place, it wouldn't have happened, would it?
That's correct. A lot of times because a person, and also with regards to a person becoming a power of attorney, sometimes if a person has a lot of assets, that person might be required to put up a bond, what we call a bond, because again, you're dealing with a person's you're dealing with their bank accounts, their money and everything. The courts like to put safeguards in place to protect individuals, and especially with regards to a person's finances and stuff, they may want to, in addition to having a power of attorney, have a conservator, someone who's a conservator, and have conservatorship, because that puts in extra safeguards to keep someone from going in and taking all your money and spending your money when they're supposed to be paying your bills.
Okay, what she just said and I'm going to interpret it, is that you can have a power of attorney without going to court, correct?
Correct.
If you want to have protection with that power of attorney and someone becomes your conservator, they must appear in court, be approved by the probate judge to be your conservator, and then the probate judge will make a decision as to whether that person is capable of acting as your conservator and monitoring your funds with or without a bond.
Correct.
And what she did, Regina said, was so important for you to understand that just having a guardian is not a safeguard. It's a protection, but it's not the total safeguard that you'd get with a conservator.
Absolutely. And a person can actually have both a guardian and a conservator because they actually do two separate, they have two separate roles. So if you don't want to go through court, you can do a personal power of attorney. That doesn't require you going into court, going before a judge or anything. You're not as protected as if, as in the event that you have a guardian and a conservator. Because again, the court then has what we call a guardian ad litem that they appoint to oversee those individuals to make sure that you're protected, your money and everything like that is protected. But with a personal, with a power of attorney, though it does not go through court, and anybody can have a power of attorney, so long as you're within your right mind, because that's one of the requirements in order for a power of attorney to be valid, is that the person giving the power of attorney over to another individual have to have sound mind. They can't be already mentally incapacitated.
Okay, let's stop for a minute because it's really important to break this down. Today I'm blessed. I have no problems. I give you a power of attorney to manage my affairs. Tomorrow I have an automobile accident and I'm incapable of functioning. Does the power of attorney survive?
Yes, the power of attorney will survive that. Now, your family members or someone, say for instance, if you appoint me as your power of attorney, but then you have a daughter who feels that she may know better than me how you should be taken care of, she can then go into court and petition the court to become your legal guardian and or conservator. So that's a situation that can happen. But once a person, even if you have an accident and you become physically incapacitated or so forth, that power of attorney still is in place.
See, here's the problem. If you become legally incapacitated, and I'm not speaking with a broken tongue here, I'm speaking straightforward to you, and I want you all to pay attention to this. I know it's getting about 10:25, so most of you are getting out of bed now. If you have a stroke and they take you to the hospital and you don't have a power of attorney in place, and then you can't talk or you can't write, somebody's going to be appointed your guardian and watch over your funds. And it may be one of those people that's appointed through one of these guardianship services, and you're not going to like what happens there because all they do is bill for time. They're not going to be there for you. They're not going to come see you. All they're going to do is bill for time. They're not going to be there to answer your questions or your family's questions. All they're going to do is bill for time. Now pay attention to what I'm saying. If the probate court ends up having a guardian appointed over you, it's going to cost time. It's going to take money from your estate. It's going to reduce the money that goes to you and your family. Somebody else that is a stranger, has no idea about how you function socially or culturally, is going to take hold over your funds. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hello.
Hi. How are
Hi,
you,
Mr. Keller.
how are you
Hi,
doing?
Regina.
Hello,
I
good
wanted
morning.
to ask you, my husband was in the hospital, and I wanted to know those papers that they have in the hospital, and they're like for guardianship, are those valid? I'll hang up and I'll listen for your answer.
Okay.
Okay, the papers in the hospital you're talking about would be the appointment of medical power of attorney to make
Correct.
decisions. Those are valid.
Yes.
But when you get out of the hospital, you can revoke those. You should have your own documents in place with the guardianship in place. You should have a durable power of attorney worked out.
Correct.
I know the person who called by name. I'm not going to identify you, but I'm glad you called and asked the question, because it's very, very important to have all these things in place. And I think you should talk to somebody like Regina. How do we get a hold of you?
Again, if anyone wants to, I do free consultations. So if anyone has questions, you can reach me at 269-275-2600. That is that goes directly to my office, is my business cell phone number. But I usually pick up if I'm not in court. If I am, you can always leave a message, and I do return calls.
Now, Regina's practiced 14 years, if I remember correctly.
Actually, I've been in private practice for 11 years, and I've been licensed for 12.
Okay, well, I thought you finished in 2004, but
Yes, I did. I graduated from, at that time, Cooley Law School in 2004. I worked for legal services in Battle Creek, Michigan, as an intern, and then I took the bar and passed the bar in 2006.
okay, now we got it down.
Yes.
But she understands what she's doing when she worked with legal services, because she has to deal with all those problems. And the message that I'm trying to get home, and I'm really fervent in this, just like a minister is on Sunday talking to you in church, I feel strongly about this. As he'll preach to you about the gospel, I feel this strongly about everybody having their affairs in order. I get so many calls asking me questions about what should I do after something goes awry. Somebody has a stroke. Somebody's incompetent. They have to make a decision to amputate someone's leg.
Yeah.
These are really traumatic events in the lives of other individuals that have to be dealt with. And we need you to call in and ask questions so we can fill your minds with all kinds of scenarios this morning, so you get the message clear that you need to have a power of attorney, or you need to have a durable power of attorney before somebody becomes mentally and physically incapacitated.
Absolutely.
And then you've got to go to court and have a battle as to which one of your children is going to take control of the affairs. We'll be right back.
Are you in legal trouble? Are you in need of legal advice? Or just have general legal questions? Call 1-800-529-8721. That's 1-800-LAW-USA1. And watch Law Power Hour and get your questions answered by experienced attorneys who are experts in their field. That's Law Power Hour, hosted by Barry Keller, attorney at law. Saturdays at 10 a.m. here on WHPR Detroit Live.
I know you think I'm a little eccentric at times when I start talking about these legal issues being more important than what goes on in church on Sunday. It's not true. it's equally as important to have your affairs in order so that you have peace of mind when you go to church on Sunday.
Absolutely.
And that's really what's important. Or if you don't go to church or wherever you go, if you participate in religious practices, you still need your affairs in order so that you have peace of mind. So when we were taking the break, Regina started to tell me a story, and I asked her to save this story. It's about her experience when she first came out of law school. Is that right?
Right after I started my practice, so I started my practice in Calhoun County in Battle Creek, Michigan, and one of my very first cases involved a young lady whose fiance was in a terrible motorcycle accident on I-94. This accident put him in critical care, and he did not have all the paperwork that we're discussing this morning in place. He did not have a health care power of attorney in place. And so it came down to him being on life support. And he had been on life support for a couple of days. His mother did not want to be the person to make the decision to take him off life support. So his fiance contacted me, and we had to do an emergency order, to get into court to get an emergency order, which would grant her the power of attorney to make that decision and kind of spare his mother from having to make such a hard decision. We had to do that because he did not have a health care power of attorney in place. And this young lady, this young woman had to, unfortunately, be the person that make the decision to take him off life support. And just as we've been discussing this morning, you don't want to leave your loved ones in a position to make tough and hard decisions like that. I mean, I have 2 children myself, and I would not want to be in a position to have to make a decision whether or not to take them off life support. Having paperwork like this in place, your health care power of attorney, a durable power of attorney, and things, it makes it easier for your loved ones. It makes it a lot easier for them when something happens to you. So that's the story that I was sharing, is that, have that paperwork, at least have a health care power attorney in place, because we never know when something is going to happen to us, and we don't want to have your mom or a sister or your dad or someone to have to be making a decision to take you off life support, when if you have a health care power of attorney that says, you don't want to do not resuscitate or something like that, it takes it out of their hands, and it just leaves it into the hands of the medical professionals.
I'll give it to you another way. It puts the decision on you
Absolutely.
so that you can intelligently decide, God forbid, if I'm in a coma, do I want my loved ones to come and have a vigil every day and watch over me while I'm in a coma? Now, I had a client in a coma for 1 year and 3 months. And the family would go every day in hopes and prayers that that individual would come out of the coma. It doesn't work that way. So what's important is you make that decision as to how you want your life handled and what you want your loved ones to do for you and what you should do for them. Now, it's going to sound kind of crazy, but we're going to go so far to the next level that when you draw a will, you got to make a decision today whether you're going to be buried in the ground or you're going to be burned.
Yeah, that's true.
And a lot of people can't afford to be buried in the ground have a funeral today because it's pretty expensive. You know, a funeral can run anywhere from $10,000 to $40,000, depending on how much money you want to spend for a plot, for a casket, for the repose, for whatever other program or ceremony you want to have. Or you can have a very short service, and you can have a very simple way of handling it by deciding that you want to be cremated. And then you're going to have a problem who's going to get the ashes. These are all serious considerations that you have to take in and handle now. Don't leave those decisions for your loved ones later because you create problems. And here's the kind of problems that you create. Let's say that you die without a will, and that means you die.
Intestate.
Okay, that means that everything passes by operation of the statutes of the state of Michigan.
Absolutely.
So if you have 4 children and you are a widow or a widower and you don't have a will, all of your children are going to share equally. So if you have a house and you're living there by yourself and you die and tomorrow one of the 4 children moves in the house, there's going to be a problem with the other 3, isn't there?
Absolutely. And it's just, you have, with regards to not having a will or dying intestate and having your children all share, you may have, there might have been one child who, while maybe you had a long-term illness and that child was there with you every day, taking care of you, making sure that, you took your medication, that you were eating, and so forth. And it might have been your intent or intention that that child has the house when you pass away. But if you don't have a will in which you put that in there, stating specifically that that child is to get your home, then just like it was stated earlier, all your children share equally, which means they can force the sale of the house. And that might not have been something that you wanted to have happen. So it's very, very, very important that you have a will. You create a will, create it while you have sound mind and body, which means create it while you're healthy. Don't wait till you get ill or sick, because guess what? If you get ill or sick and you have maybe, that's a way for someone to come in and contest the will, to say, you know what, my dad or my mom wasn't of sound mind when this will was created. They were in the early stages of dementia or Alzheimer's or so forth, and they can actually, that'll be legal grounds for them to challenge the validity of your will. So you want to make sure that you have that the will that you have done is while you have all your facilities, while you're sound mind and body.
Yeah, you know who your children are. You know what they're like. If you got 4 children and one of them has got credit problems, you know they're going to go into bankruptcy. If you die without a will, they're going to have 1/4 of your estate. And if they go into bankruptcy, the trustee in bankruptcy is going to come in and try and force a sale of the property to make sure that the bankruptcy estate gets their fair share. But if you have a will, you can handle those problems.
Correct.
And you won't have anyone getting in there. And if you have a trust, by God, you can handle it for sure. And nobody's going to mess with the trust, because the trust is going to speak. It's a roadmap after you die. It tells everyone how the estate's going to be split up. These are not expensive documents. These are important documents that you need to function on a daily basis. They are probably just as important as having medical insurance or life insurance.
Absolutely.
Now, you talked about your bundle. I want you to repeat one more time what's in your bundle of benefits out here.
So in the bundle that I created many years ago was I would, for a person who, and I call what I call as a simple will, someone that has very little assets, assets under 25,000 is what I call like a small estate. I will be willing to draft your will, draft a power of attorney for you, and a healthcare power of attorney for $450. That was the bundle that, and I haven't made updates or changes to the price over the years because it's really, the documents themselves is not very difficult to prepare and do. Some people, you can actually go online really and look up websites that provide, but you got to make sure you have, you're looking up for Michigan because you got to understand that all states, the laws of probate are different in different states. Don't go online and pull up a will and it's for New Jersey and you live here in Michigan. You got to make sure that the documents that you're actually pulling up and downloading are for the state of Michigan. But yes, I try to make it affordable for people. I understand that a lot of people, simply can't afford to spend thousands and thousands of dollars on these very important documents.
Okay, tell them how to get a hold of you. We're going to take a break after that.
Again, my name's Attorney Regina Jones. I can be reached at 269-275-2600.
And she's offering you a bargain. She's offering to become your friend, go over the documents with you,
Absolutely.
consult with you, and assist you. And believe me, it's a great deal. We'll be right back.
Are you in legal trouble? Are you in need of legal advice? Or just have general legal questions? Call 1-800-529-8721. That's 1-800-LAW-USA1. And watch Law Power Hour and get your questions answered by experienced attorneys who are experts in their field. That's Law Power Hour, hosted by Barry Keller, attorney at law. Saturdays at 10 a.m. here on WHPR Detroit Live.
Regina also does criminal work. She handles a lot of, I guess a nice way of putting it, select criminal cases, because she doesn't handle murder cases or child abuse cases or CSC, criminal sexual conduct cases. Those are very difficult
Yes.
emotionally to handle. And at the end of the day, you got to live with yourself and you want to go to sleep at night.
Absolutely.
I guess you learned the hard way. You don't sleep at night when you have those on your mind, do you?
You don't. I try to. I do a lot of the lesser offense type felony cases, possession, drug possession cases. I do motor vehicle, grand theft auto cases, home evasion. Those type of cases I do, and I do a lot of misdemeanor criminal traffic work as well. And I'm house counsel at 36th District Court quite often, so pretty much any traffic misdemeanor that you can think of, I've represented someone, including OWIs, operating while intoxicated or operating while visibly impaired.
Here's one of the things I want to ask you. How do you feel about me telling my clients they have several tickets in the 36th District Court to come down in the afternoon and talk to somebody down there about trying to resolve their outstanding tickets so they can get back on the road?
Well, it depends on if those tickets were silver infractions or misdemeanors. Like 36th District Court, we have a walk-in court there. It's usually in the afternoons on, I believe, select days. But I think that if a person has a number of traffic tickets, that absolutely you want to go in and try to take care of those tickets as soon as possible. I often get, especially with the misdemeanors, which are no operator license on person is a misdemeanor in the state of Michigan, driving with no insurance is a misdemeanor, driving with on an unregistered motor vehicle is a misdemeanor, allowing someone who does not have a driver's license to drive your car. Let me say that one again. Allowing somebody who does not have a valid driver's license to operate your motor vehicle is a misdemeanor
Okay.
in the state of
I
Michigan.
have to stop you for a minute. It's real important. If you have motor vehicular misdemeanors, they're not expungable.
Correct.
In other words, you can't get them off your record.
Correct.
So if you go down and you see Regina and you've got one of these, it's possible that she could help you work it out so it doesn't show up as a motor vehicle misdemeanor infraction.
Correct. Or give, a lot of times you're, depending on how many misdemeanors or charges you have, Wayne County Prosecutor's Office, the City of Detroit Law Department, they may make deals, and you might have 4 or 5 misdemeanors and may only have to plead to 1 or 2. Yes, I do. That's the type of work I do a lot of. I did want to talk a little bit about our border streets. This is something that is I feel a lot of people need to understand and know what the law is with regards to border streets. Our border streets here in Detroit, you have MAC, which separates Detroit from the points, the Grosse Pointes. And then you have 8 Mile that separates Detroit from, not only separates the city of Detroit, but it also separates Wayne County from Macomb County and from, if you go far enough out, Oakland County. So those, we have certain laws with regards to the jurisdiction of police officers and when you get pulled over. So if you are in, say for instance, if you're on 8 Mile and you're on Macomb County side or Oakland County side of 8 Mile, and then you do a Michigan U and you come back over into Wayne County and you're now in the city of Detroit, if you're speeding on the opposite side, on that Macomb County side or that Oakland County side, that offers, and an officer catches you or sees you speeding, that officer can, in fact, pull you over once you've made your Michigan U and you're now back in Wayne County in the city of Detroit. The law allows for that. What the law does not allow for is if you have remained in the city of Detroit and remained on Wayne County side of 8 Mile, for that same officer who is a Warren police officer or a Ferndale police officer to, in turn, pull you over and you've never were in their jurisdiction and issue you a ticket. That is not proper. That officer does not have jurisdiction and have the right to do that. And that goes for MAC as well. I see all the time when I'm going to work in the morning, Grosse Pointe Park police officers making U-turns. They're sitting on Grosse Pointe side of MAC Avenue, and they will make a U-turn and pull someone who is on the Detroit side of MAC Avenue over and issue them a ticket for more than likely speeding. And if the person doesn't have their valid documentation, then you can get issued tickets for misdemeanors as well. That is not proper. They do not have jurisdiction, and you need to fight those cases when that happens to you.
Thank you. That's very important to understand. Now, if they come down in the afternoon and you're down there on your appointed day, do they have to worry about getting arrested? This is a big problem. If I go down there and I've got 4 infractions, am I going to get arrested when I go down there?
I would say 9 times out of 10 or 9.5 times out of 10, the answer is no. 36th District Court, they allow people to come in, on their own, that's why it's called the walk-in docket, to come in on their own, and you might be required to post a bond of $100 or $200 or something, depending on the number of tickets. If you have one ticket, one outstanding matter, you can come in and get that matter set for a court date, usually with a personal bond, which means you don't pay any money. You just come in, get arraigned on the information, and get your case set. Or sometimes you can actually get the matter resolved that same day. You may want to take say if you have a no operator's license ticket, that can be amended to failure to display a valid driver's license, which is 0 points. There's no points on your license. We all know, especially if you live in Detroit, you don't want points on your license because you don't want your insurance going up. So you can actually get some of your matters taken care of if you actually do the walk-in court that very day.
So here's an invitation to come down to 36th District Court, meet Regina in the afternoon in the walk-in court, and she'll walk you through the process.
Well,
Well, you get assigned, I understand that.
Yes, if I'm assigned, and we have a lot of very capable, very good attorneys that are assigned on a daily basis to 36th District Court, and I can assure you that they will be able to handle your cases, whatever they may be. So do not be afraid to come in. A lot of people are afraid to come in and take care of tickets because they think that they're going to get arrested. That usually does not happen. I've yet to see that happen, actually, and I've been working at 36th District Court for the last 9 years.
Now, you know, the new driver responsibility laws are coming into effect in October.
Yes.
And they're going to give a moratorium, in a matter of speaking. They're going to say, okay, you're out there, you've been restricted from driving because of driver's responsibility for outstanding tickets, you may have failed to pay a judgment, and all of a sudden, they're going to take and they're going to put a line through all of those and say you can go down and get a driver's license. But you have to go down and get your license, don't you?
Absolutely.
And that was the reason I brought it up. Otherwise, you're going to get charged with a misdemeanor of driving on a suspended license.
Take care of your reinstatement fees. A lot of times, the driving offenses do come with a reinstatement fee that is paid to the Secretary of State. It's not something that the court can waive for you. But yes, it's important to, we have people who drive and their driver's license never acquired, which means they've never had a driver's license. And I have people come down and ask me, well, I've never had a license, so how is it that they, I have a Secretary of State has this list of things. What they'll do is they'll appoint a kind of a driver's license to you the very first time you get pulled over and you have a driving infraction. So you don't have to, the fact that you never went and took a driver's test and actually got a license, once you've gotten pulled over for a driving offense, you actually get a number or something, is a way to identify you within the system. And so each and every time you get pulled over, you create a driving record that the Secretary of State has.
Now, let me give you the flip side of it, because we're running down and I want you to tell people how to get a hold of you, but it's real important. You're going to the baseball game. It's pretty expensive to go to today, but people go to the baseball game. So you illegally park downtown, you get a ticket, you throw the ticket away. Mm-hmm. Then you get stopped for another violation. You find out that your license is suspended for not paying the ticket. That can happen.
Yes.
Then you got 2 tickets.
Yes.
So now you got to get a reinstatement, and you have to pay the other ticket, correct?
Correct. So if you get a parking ticket, take care of it. We used to have it where you got a parking ticket, if you paid it within a certain amount of time, it was a certain fee, I think $10 or something. Then it went up to $20, and then it kept going up if you didn't take care of the ticket. Well, now it's $45. But think about it this way. You don't pay that parking ticket. It starts off at $45, and because you chose to either throw it away or not take care of it, they impose your license, a suspension on your license. And people oftentimes get pulled over when it's most inconvenient, either they're on their way to work or they're on their way to their child's school or to pick them up or drop them off, and they might be, running late, so they're speeding and they get pulled over, then that same parking ticket that you didn't bother taking care of, now your license is suspended. So guess what? Now you're going to have a misdemeanor charge that could have been avoided if you would have just paid the parking ticket. So you don't want to put yourself in a position where you have a more serious offense, such as driving while license suspended, which legally your car can get impounded if the officer chose to do that, because you don't have legal rights to be operating a motor vehicle on the streets in the state of Michigan. So you don't want to do that. It's easier just to take care of the ticket, pay it. You can pay it online. You don't have to go down to the parking, the department that handles the parking tickets. You can actually pay it online and take care of it that way.
Regina, thanks for coming. I'm going to have you come back, and this is what I want to do. I want you to come back. We're going to put a PowerPoint presentation together, and we're going to show individuals how to fill out a durable power of attorney and a medical power of attorney on the air.
Awesome. I
Okay?
would love to do that.
Oh,
yes.
good. So you're coming back. Thank
Yes.
you.
Thank you so much. Thank
Okay.
you for having me.
Y'all have a great day today,
Yes.
and root Croatia home tomorrow in soccer. Bye-bye.